Reese from the Point Music Podcast thingy. Back for 20... I don't even know what year it is anymore because it's just morphed into all sorts of things. But yeah, first podcast for the year, Seph Cove. We've mentioned him a few times, done a few articles for him on The Point in the last couple of months. He's got a new single out called Helen. It's epic. I really enjoyed his music, but really enjoyed this conversation that we had, and there was actually more to it afterwards, but that's for me and Seph to know and you to find out. Hope you really enjoy this one. I do apologize, it got buggy, so I'm gonna have to try and fix it. If I don't, I'll just leave it on there and see me get embarrassed. So we'll see how this goes. Ladies and gentlemen, and people of all sorts, Seph Cove. And we are rolling now. Hello, Seph Cove.
How you doing?
I'm fighting technical issues, but we'll get through that. How are you in Byron right now?
Yes, or yeah, Lennox Head, just south of Byron.
Ah, better than Byron. Sorry, Byron people, but Lennox is way better.
It's nice and sleepy, which is how I like it.
Exactly, and I find the surf there a bit better too.
Yes, I think the other day with the tsunami stuff, the waves were way too big for me, but
did it actually really happen down there? Did it? Because like I was.
Oh yeah.
I went for a skate on whatever night it was when the tsunami warning was issued, and about 11 o'clock at night, I was sitting at the skate park there with my youngest, and I swear I could hear this roar. And yeah, so that must have been it that come through seriously, because it was an odd sound, and then something, yeah, but
it was just massive swell for like 2 days.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Any weird shit wash up?
Not that I noticed, but just so much. It's very seaweedy still. It's just still very, very murky, but thus is nature.
Thus is nature. Man, we'll get past that all day now. You have a new single, and
I do.
Helen is. This is the second time in a row with your singles that you've made my mouth drop, because I was not expecting what you did halfway through the song. So it's very tricky what you did do and what your producer did, but yeah, great track. I dug Sirens when it first came out, so that was the first time I heard of you was with the track Sirens. But Helen,
very much.
Very, very cool. I like what you've done, but you would care to explain, because there's a bit of a story behind Helen, because of the way we're all living right now, and the reason why I do podcasts at the moment is because of this shit. But you want to explain how Helen came about?
Yeah, sure. As you say, it's been a very, very tough couple of years, and halfway through, I think it was 2020, so it was first experience of lockdowns, and I was in Melbourne at the time, so I was in the lockdown. Yeah, and basically, I just reached out to a friend. I hadn't spoken to them in a while. I think I was inspired by one of my housemates who'd reached out to someone, and I just asked, how you doing? And kind of was expecting to have a short and sharp conversation, just be like, yep, I'm good, hope you're holding up. And I was really appreciative, because they really opened up to me, and they explained how hard their year had been. And I won't go into details, but the sort of stuff that would, if that happened in your lifetime, it would be tough.
Yeah.
And that all kind of happened all at once. And it was just a massive perspective shock, I think, because I'd been going through a fair bit at the time as well, which I don't know, I don't think it diminishes what I was going through, but it just reminded me that everyone's going through something and everyone has a story.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt so much for that person. And I was physically restricted by what I could do. But one of the things I'm always doing is writing, and music and writing is always so much of a catharsis for me.
Yeah.
And in this instance, it wasn't, about introspection or kind of moving on or anything like that. It was just trying to express how I felt about a friend. and kind of my mini lesson in perspective as well.
Do they know that the song's about them?
Yes,
Well,
I did. I did speak to them about it.
yeah.
It was, I don't know, felt like the right thing to do.
What was their reaction to it though?
They loved the song, and they felt like it was a very kind and accurate representation of our friendship and a little bit of what they were going through. So that made me feel really, really good.
It's kind of cool because most of the time when you hear someone's written a song about someone else, it's usually in a bad way.
Yes.
Cough, Taylor Swift, cough.
Yeah, I was a little worried. Not so much that they wouldn't like it, but that they wouldn't want me to release it or share it with other people.
Fair enough.
So I was grateful for their understanding of what I wanted to do with the song as well.
So was the conversation itself that you had obviously inspired the track? Do you remember, like, was there actually certain aspects of that conversation that actually made its way into the lyrics itself? Or was it more just the feeling?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few kind of mini metaphors, I guess, and I guess like trick lyrics where, like don't slip over, who knows what you'll lose is kind of, they will know what that means, but I also just think it's, I felt like it was something that we could all relate to.
Is this person doing better now?
Yes, thankfully.
Good.
Yeah. So it was pretty amazing how 5-10 minutes could kind of impact so much. Still, the ripple effects, but thankfully, all is kind of looking up.
You as because we're saying you're in Lennox area, but you're originally from Melbourne, so you've basically gone through a bit of a metamorphosis yourself in this past 2 years, right? So you released something under a previous project under your own name, yeah, and now you've developed this. Is Seph more of a persona, like a character that you wouldn't normally be, or is it something that's sort of suppressed on the inside that's decided to come out a bit more, and you're able to do this under this moniker and then be yourself somewhere else? Is that why?
Yeah, it felt a little more like the latter. It basically felt like, I guess there's two aspects. One was that I released that song under my original name, Ben, and then spent 2 years trying to figure out what sort of music I wanted to make. And by the time I kind of came to that conclusion, I felt like a different artist. I felt like I was going through things differently, and my process was different.
Yeah.
And then I guess there's also that element that, when I step onto the stage or when I'm thinking about how I want to portray myself and portray my music and the sounds that I make, it feels to me like it gives me a bit of license to get weird, basically. Which I really enjoy, and I enjoy the freedom that, even if it's just a placebo.
It's freeing when you can actually. I'm a musician too, so like I play in several bands, but I know that feeling of stepping onto stage and all the stuff that on a day-to-day thing just disappears for that 45 minutes to 3 hours, depending how long of a set you're doing. And yeah, I do take on a different persona compared to how I am, like even now is a different persona really, but in my day-to-day, I find that the getting on stage thing, you can adopt somebody else or something from the inside to take over and express what you're feeling at that point in time.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. It's a decision I'm really glad I made.
So how did you come to that conclusion? Because you're saying you didn't know, as a solo artist, you didn't know what you wanted your sound to be. Because I'm at a point in my life right now where I want to do solo stuff, but it's a tricky thing to do because I'm predominantly a bass player. So a bass player being a soloist, and I'm not predominantly a vocalist, so I can't sing, but trying to find my voice and that is something very, very trying for me at this point. So I'm curious to know how you did that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, welcome to the club.
I'm not there yet.
You're thinking about it, so that's half the battle.
Mm,
Yeah, I think I released that song a few years ago, and I was lucky enough to then have a few people be involved with my music for a
yeah.
while. And the biggest thing that they wanted me to do was to challenge myself, um, because there was no way that I was a fully formed artist at that time. You know, you never are. But I had no idea what I was doing
Mm,
as a musician. So they challenged me to listen to different music, to uh, really pinpoint what aspects of what artists I liked, to try and sing different sort of songs, to meet different musicians, to actively go out of your way and put yourself in a horrible pickle when you go up to an artist at the end of a concert and say, "Hey, let's catch up. I have no idea who you are and you don't know anything about me." Um, and I think through that, I just learned so much about, I guess it was that level of comfort where you hear so many similar stories,
mm-hmm.
and it inspires you to just really delve into yourself and not feel weird about trying these things. And then I feel very lucky that when I went to turn those into songs, the people that I worked with were only encouraging. So there were uh, probably not 100, maybe 100 songs that I wrote in those few years, where the outcome was my first EP, so 6 tracks.
Yep.
And so many of those songs I showed to people and got advice and tried different things, and depending on what sort of music they listened to and what I was listening to at the time. And it was just a kind of never-ending process of that sort of exploration.
Right.
And it just got to a point where I felt really comfortable. And then I got in the studio with Tim, my producer, and that kind of felt like it was the culmination of a couple of years. And I'm very lucky that I have a really, really good relationship with him.
It does help to have a good relationship with a producer, engineer, so like because I was going to bring this up about Tim. I'm assuming like some of the trickery, like I said, that they made my mouth drop. Like both times when I listened to Helen and Sirens, the stuff I wasn't expecting, particularly the tone of the drums. I was not expecting it. It was because it's so drenched in reverb and so distant, but it's just so impactful. And then you got all those like, because I'm a sucker for synths as well, and you got the nice synths, the really lush synths that come through. But you start off with both songs with this it's like just your voice and the acoustic strumming, and you think, yeah, okay, because I've heard that many acoustic singer-songwriter artists, and there's plenty, and there's amazing ones. Like you got Ziggy Alberts and you got the Dregs. I mean, they're all from this area and that shit, but and not disrespecting them or anything like that, because they're amazing at their art. But I hear a lot of it, and when I started hearing yours, I went, oh, interesting voice, and that was the first thing. And I'm like, yeah, cool, let's see where this goes. And I was just waiting for it just to keep continuing the way. And then I went, boom, you did those changes. And I was just like, that was what I was wanting. That was something extra that was needed, and it was there. And I was like, wow. And I played it for my wife, and she went straight into a playlist. Yep, that's added.
Hey.
It was
Thank
clever
you.
production on Tim's behalf, but how much was your input as well for that?
Yeah, I guess Tim and we bounce off each other really well. Mm-hmm. So I start a lot of my music, because most of my writing is singing and guitar.
Yep.
So a lot of
we're gonna have an air gap here because I just lost Seph connection. You got me, Seph? Hello. Yeah, I got video.
Okay, yeah.
I got audio. See,
What happened there? I was going
fucking,
on for a while.
fucking Mercury Retrograde is what it is, man.
Oh
Fucking
dear.
Mercury Retrograde. Before you cut out, we're talking about the
Where do you,
production and how you and Tim bounced ideas off each other, and then that's when it went all silent. I was left on my own just to basically do-do-do-dee-da.
oh dear. Yeah. Okay. I was definitely talking to myself for a while then. I basically, yeah. So I kind of have this idea of where I hope the song can go in my head.
Yep.
But I love the fact that when I go and work with Tim, we kind of start with a blank slate. So there's a song in the EP that's coming out where I don't think there's any guitar, but it was very reminiscent of kind of Ziggy Albert's originally.
Right.
And I was really keen to make it not guitar based, and Tim was just so happy to dive into that with me.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Tim has his signature sounds, which is very lucky that I can be involved with them. But I think that it's both of us want the song to be something more than what that both of them seem to start out as.
Yeah.
And that really stems from the 2 years that I was talking about, where, you know, I think I picked up a guitar because of Jack Johnson, and I listened to Ziggy Albert's on repeat, and I still do, but there was just so much more music out there. Yeah. And I wanted to try and incorporate those sounds that I've been really influenced by. And Tim helps me do that. And I think Tim's ability on the drums and with rhythm is remarkable. So I'm very keen to just let him do his thing when it comes to the drums.
Because there's a lot of sparseness there. He lets the song breathe, but it's so effective. There are points sometimes I get some like Gomez kind of vibes that just sneak in every now and then.
Yeah, he's. I'm very lucky to get up close and watch him when he does it. Blows my mind. And even then, it's still such an honest conversation about how do I feel about this. He always says he'd rather chuck so much stuff in and I take stuff out, and the opposite is true with what I want. So yeah, I'm very, very grateful for that connection I have.
So
and I should also mention Luke, who mixed and mastered this EP.
Yeah. So
he
continue.
He's a jet as well. Is basically what I was going to say.
What I was going to mention is I haven't spent some time with both of them. Have you ever explored like producing yourself?
I like to say that I prefer to focus on my songwriting craft.
Yeah,
is how I say it. I think eventually I would like to get involved in production, but I love the fact that I work with people to create my songs.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that I can be involved with, or I get exposed to new ideas from people. And maybe it's not where I thought the song would go originally, and just complements it so well. So maybe that's an excuse as to why I haven't produced yet. But yeah, at the moment I still feel like I have a lot of work to do on my songwriting and my singing, and I'd rather focus on that sort of stuff and eventually get to the production maybe sometime in the future.
So how do you go about, like, obviously being just a singer-songwriter, but performing live, some of these tracks, do you use a backing track, or you just basically convert them into a solo sort of aspect, or do you have some people play along with you?
Because so many of the songs started as me playing them solo.
Yeah.
There's a really solid foundation for me to play them just me and a guitar, or just me and a piano, which just particularly over the last 2 years is kind of all I've been able to do. But I love doing it. I love it. I love playing on my own. I love the freedom that it gives you. But I am so excited by the prospect of playing with a band, which I really hope to do in the coming couple of months.
Have you played in bands previously?
No, apart from school jazz bands,
Uh,
no bands.
okay.
Which, yeah, I came to music quite late, so um, never had that band experience before going solo.
Maybe that's a good thing. I've been in. I think I'm up to band 15,
Wow.
not including jazz
Have you learned
bands.
something from each of them?
Yeah, but then you just don't make the same mistakes. It's the more people you have involved, the harder it gets.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, I love playing in bigger bands because there's so many parts coming and going, and I think your internet connection's just dropped again.
What is going on tonight?
Are you on like 4G, or are you actually on Wi-Fi?
No, I'm on Wi-Fi that has been a-okay for
Yeah, fucking Mercury Retrograde, bro.
ever. Apologies.
It's not your fault, man. But like, when as soon as you disappeared, the magic of podcast disappeared, and they could see all this
Indeed.
shit. So
Oh
I
no.
might leave it in. I might not. We'll see. I don't normally edit. I don't normally edit my podcast because I just don't have the time to do it. I usually let it run free. It's probably the biggest air
Yeah,
gap I've had
that's funny.
since I interviewed Mick from the Sunny Coast Rude Boys, and he had some
Oh
major
dear.
gremlins. That's funny. Well, this was my first podcast back in for the year, so didn't have to be smooth sailing
There
at
had
all.
to be some problems.
There had to be some issues. All right. Well, we'll try and get as much as we can before it fucks up again. Because
Yes.
I was just
Where were we?
bands. That's what I said.
Bands, that's right.
I've been in 15
15.
bands. Yeah. Like large bands, they're fine. They're cool because there's so many different parts working, and you get to bounce ideas back and forth. But there's so many people to try and organize at the same time.
Yes.
I've got another band
Hard,
in, or I
even when
can't
they're
do
not
this because of work
movies.
commitments. Blah blah blah. Smaller bands.
Yeah.
Usually it doesn't have a bigger sound unless you can figure out how to add in other elements. To be honest with you, a lot of the time, I mean, I love playing in bands myself, but sometimes solo artists usually have the better thing. You don't have to worry about all the other shit going on. You just focus on what you're doing. But it'll be an interesting experience once you get other players in.
Yeah, I'm really excited by it. I think kind of, as you were saying, there's that trade-off between like breadth of ideas and breadth of characters,
Exactly.
and the ability to, and when you're solo, the ability to kind of do everything and or do as much or as little as you want and sing the songs however you want. So yeah, I just love playing my music, so I can't wait to do it. However, but I'm really excited by the prospect of a band show.
Comes first, man. Is just the music, and basically you serve the music to what it needs.
Yeah, well said.
Been that long enough. I did have another thing I was going to ask you. The EP. Right.
Yes.
So, because Unsafe Passage, this is now technically this is your sophomore EP, but is it going to be classed as your first EP because it's under a different moniker?
Well, If This Were You, which was my first EP, was technically under Seph Cove.
Oh, right. Okay.
It was kind of that very, 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 very early days of me coming out of that kind of period of exploration. Whereas this EP has felt a lot more solid and a lot more just me.
Yeah.
I think. So I guess it's my second one, but it definitely feels like this was much more of my coming out party. Yeah, it's coming out Feb 18, and it's I hope it gives everyone a really good idea of what my music is and where it could go as well. There's a bit of everything.
So What else are you exploring? What other ideas are you exploring in this EP?
I think we've kind of touched on it, but so much of my music thus far has been guitar heavy and guitar based, and kind of that acoustic sound and that folky sound. And I guess there's elements in some of the songs where that's not existed, and it's really touching on that more sonic soundscape, and yeah, almost M83 ethereal atmosphere levels,
right?
Which is exciting. Yeah, that's a kind of a whole other sound that I've always loved. And again, working with Tim, we managed to kind of find something that worked, well, something that I think worked.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting as well.
Of ideas and sounds and that. So now that you are in Byron, or Lennox, but you'd be playing in Byron right now. I haven't been in Byron. Last time I was over the border was late or mid last year to play Brunswick Heads.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, Brunswick Heads Hotel is always fun to play. Have you done that one?
Haven't played it yet, but I've been to a few gigs and they are always fun.
It's always a dope sort of fun thing. But yeah, last time I can't even remember the last time I played in Byron. It would have been the Beachy. It definitely would have been the Beach Hotel, and that would have been pre-pandemic, and that scares the crap out of me now. That's like
it's a while ago.
2.5 years now, and it used to be a regular thing. But what I'm trying to get at is you're gone from like Melbourne, which is starting to come back, but was known as basically the capital of music of Australia, and you find yourself in sort of Chris Hemsworthville. What was the whole motive behind moving?
It was a very spontaneous decision in the end. I went on a road trip with my brother for a few months. He'd come home from overseas and was excited and keen to just see Australia because he'd been overseas for a few years
during the pandemic.
And yeah, well, I think from where he was coming from, Australia was doing very, very well.
Yeah.
So that was kind of his thing, and I was really keen to get out of Melbourne and do something. So we did a road trip up to far north Queensland for, I think we were on the road for about 4 months, and then on the way back he had to fly back to Melbourne, and I thought I'd visit my friend in Lennox for a week, and it's now been however many months, 8 months, 9 months. I've just stayed. So very, very unplanned, and no regrets at all. It's been such a literal and figurative breath of fresh air.
Well, surf's good, food's good. Nothing to complain about there.
Yeah. No. And it ended up helping a lot with my music and I think my creativity.
Well, I was going to say that because it actually does have a very Byron-ish kind of vibe to it in points.
Yeah, it just kind of reinvigorated me a little bit. It was, a very stagnant time the preceding year and a bit. So being here and being able to take time for myself and be in a lot of space and then be with other people and be surrounded by the beautiful energy that is this area. It was reinvigorating. So yeah.
Are you coming up our way anytime soon? Because we're on the sunny coast. So
I'd love to. A good friend of mine lives in Noosa. He grew up there, so
I'm sorry.
I need to go visit him. So I'll have to. I guess I'll have to come visit.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
and
should
hopefully
hit
play a
up
show or two on the way.
Soul Bar would be right up your alley. That sort of your jam.
Done. I should probably ask them first, but
Yeah. I can give you the details afterwards. I know people that know people. Well, at a risk of like tempting the gremlins, we might wrap this up. I don't know. I could just see it happening again. Fuck you, Mercury.
Yes,
I do want to say that
good.
like Helen and Sirens, man, they're amazing singles. And I'm really looking forward to this EP once it's out next month. February's a good month. It's my birthday month, so keen to hear this.
Meant to be.
Yeah.
Happy birthday
in advance.
This is your present.
Yay! Thanks for chatting with me, Seph. Just hang on the line, man. I'll have a bit of a debrief with you. For everyone else, this has been Seph Cove, off and on, thanks to Gremlins. But do check out Helen and Sirens. I'll put the links in underneath the video and in the Spotify podcast thingy. Ciao. We did it. We got through. I hope you enjoyed that podcast with Seph. Do check out Helen and Sirens and keep an eye out for his EP, Unsafe Passage. If Seph comes up to Sunshine Coast, do check it out. I'll be there front row and center because the dude's a legend and I love his music. Thank you for hanging in there with me and thank you for supporting the podcast. Back into it. So keep an eye out for the next episode when I eventually get around to doing it. Thank you for supporting local music, Australian music, all sorts of music. You guys are legends. Take care.